Right now on the National Weather Desk, full coverage of this weekend's annular eclipse, including some of the best pictures and best viewing spots. Plus, why NASA launched rockets to study the event. We'll also take a closer look at this winter's El Nino and what it could mean for different parts of the country. Fall allergies are still a problem for many people. We'll look at some of the best ways to find relief. And we have tips on how you can get involved in reporting the weather where you live.
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
Good morning and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm meteorologist Matt Ritter. If you were lucky enough to witness Saturday's annular solar eclipse, you were treated to a spectacular show. As the moon moved in front of the sun, it created a so-called ring of fire effect. That's when the sun peaks around the moon's edges. Trees and bushes also created natural pinhole lenses, which projected crescent-shaped shadows on the ground. Some of the best places to view the eclipse were in a strip from Texas to Oregon. Lincoln Graves was in Bryce Canyon, Utah, where people started showing up before sunrise.
Park officials had warned people that if they wanted to park their own cars, they had to show up early. By 6 o'clock, most spaces had filled up at popular viewpoints.
We got up at 3 this morning, so we were hoping to beat the crowds.
By 6:30, the first light of daybreak started to show, with people armed with cameras staking out the best spots along Bryce Canyon's rim.
I had this trip planned before I knew about the eclipse, but then when I found out about it, I thought, wow, that's a bonus. So I brought my camera gear.
Just a little after 9 a.m., the moon began its slow crawl in front of the sun. Anticipation started building. A group of astronomy students from Caltech showed up, volunteering for the Park Service. They were armed with Ritz crackers to show their version of an old eclipse viewing staple, the pinhole camera.
Ritz crackers so happen to come naturally with 7 very nice pinholes. So we bought a ton of Ritz crackers. We've been handing them out.
Just before 10:30, peak annularity, the ring of fire effect. In minutes, it was over, but it left a lasting impression on those who watched it from such an iconic Utah landscape.
We came to Bryce particularly because you could see it from a lot of locations, but Bryce is just absolutely gorgeous to see it next to the hoodoos.
Unlike anything I've seen before, it almost felt like a cloud came over the whole place by the time it hit the center.
Some left the rim viewpoints and watched from trails deep in Bryce Canyon. The park won't know how many people chose to watch from here until they examine visitor numbers in a week or so. We've been spoiled in Utah with the center path of 2 eclipses coming in the past 11 years. That streak runs out for a while. The next one won't make an appearance until 2045. That's when a total eclipse comes across much of the state.
NASA will use the annular solar eclipse as an opportunity to learn about changes in the ionosphere. Holly Nino tells us what NASA plans to send into the sky to study the sun.
NASA will use the eclipse to study the sun, launching 3 sounding rockets before, during, and after the eclipse.
And those will look at the atmosphere, the ionosphere, to see how it changes during an eclipse, because the ionosphere changes with the solar energy, and when that's cut off suddenly with an eclipse, what does that sudden change look like?
Day says all of the satellites that are in the atmosphere are affected by the changes in the ionosphere.
Depending on what's happening, the satellites might move more slowly, more quickly. So everything we do is affected by the sun. That's why it's important to understand it.
Saturday's eclipse, a preview of a total solar eclipse on April 8th, 2024.
The total eclipse is special since the sun will be completely blocked out by the moon. There will be the opportunity to observe the corona, which is the wispy white atmosphere of the sun.
The corona can't be seen at any other time because the sun is too bright. April's total eclipse will give scientists the chance to take a look and learn even more about the sun.
Tracking the tropics this morning, a disturbance in the eastern Atlantic now has a high chance of developing this week. The National Hurricane Center says there's a 70% chance of it becoming a storm in the next week. It's not a threat to the U.S. mainland, but it could be heading towards the Lesser Antilles next weekend. Post-tropical cyclone Sean will dissipate in the next few days. El Nino is expected to be strong this winter, and depending on where you live, that could mean more snow, more storms, or drier and warmer weather. Austin meteorologist Chicago Windler takes a closer look at El Nino and its impacts on our weather.
El Nino Niño means the little boy in Spanish. It's a weather pattern named after the Christ child baby Jesus, since it tends to peak around Christmas. Its origins date back to the 1600s when Peruvian fishermen noticed less fish and warmer water along the South American coastline.
At this point, we've got water temperatures in the tropical Pacific at least 1.5 degrees Celsius above normal. If they stay that way for several months, then it becomes what's officially a strong El Nino.
Dr. John Nielsen Gammon is the Texas state climatologist, director of the Southern Regional Climate Center, and a professor at Texas A&M University.
The stronger the El Nino, the stronger the impacts.
Normally, winds in the tropical Pacific, known as trade winds, blow from east to west, pushing warmer surface water across the Pacific toward Asia. But in El Nino years, those winds weaken or even reverse, sending warmer water toward the South American coastline.
When the water temperatures heat up there, we end up with a stronger jet stream, and it tends to be farther south. And as a result of that, we tend to get more stormy weather during the winter time.
Here in central Texas and much of the southern U.S., an El Nino typically, but not always, means cooler and wetter winters.
The biggest impacts kick in generally around November and last through March.
But this winter, temperatures are not expected to be cooler due to our warming climate.
Normally El Nino makes it cooler, but because temperatures are going up, those two factors might sort of neutralize each other, so the official forecast has near normal temperatures.
And though it's likely we'll see a wetter winter, that does not mean a higher chance of winter storms, record snow, or crippling ice.
We actually have a reduced chance of getting extreme cold. Canada tends to be warm, and that's where our cold air comes from.
As for next summer, time will tell.
Basically what happens this winter will help determine what happens next summer. The wetter it is, the more moisture we have in the ground, the longer it'll take the ground to dry out, and the cooler the summer can be.
In Austin, Texas, I'm meteorologist Chicago Windler for the National Weather Desk.
In areas like Montana, Idaho, and Utah, wildfires are becoming harder to predict. Heidi Miley spoke with officials to find out why.
Dynamic conditions are making it difficult to predict future wildfire seasons.
A lot depends on the snowpack and then our wetting rains in the spring. You know, for Montana and Idaho, a lot of our rains come in May and June. Those are our rainiest months, and we need that rain. So we don't have a lot in the prediction side of things yet until we really see the snowpack and then also our wetting rain.
Northern Rockies officials say 414 fires burned across Montana, North Dakota, and parts of Idaho and South Dakota this past season. They covered more than 55,000 acres.
The fire ended up coming pretty close to a few homes up in a couple of spots, within 100 feet or 120 feet or so of a couple of different homes.
Really, there was a pocket of northwestern Montana and then North Idaho that did experience a bit more early season snowpack melt off, and then really didn't see the amount of wetting rain that we saw in our spring seasons.
In February, we start looking at that again to see how dry we are, how things look. I think all of us fire agencies look at that constantly to see what we're going to be up against.
The Forest Service also is preparing for future wildfire seasons by posting many permanent jobs. Plus, officials are continuing their emphasis on fire safety, noting that humans caused 65% of our region's fires this past season.
Whether it's a recreational backyard fire, you're out camping with your kids, or you're out hunting, having a warming fire, it's really imperative to be always putting that fire out.
There is less and less green on the ExploreFall.com fall foliage map. That means leaves are starting to change in more parts of the country. We are already past peak in those areas you see in black. But this is peak week in much of the northern plains and the northeast. And even parts of the deep south are starting to see some foliage. And coming up on the National Weather Desk, some of the best ways you can fight off those stubborn fall allergies. And we'll go behind the scenes to learn more about the satellites that are helping create their beautiful weather animations. As we go to break, let's check out some views of Miami Beach.
Well, not the best of Mondays throughout the Northeast. We are going to see scattered showers throughout the area, and this will continue through the afternoon and evening. Here's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We have mainly cloudy skies for most areas. There are going to be some scattered showers as well, and this will continue into Monday evening before eventually starting to wind down as we head into the day on Tuesday. Temperatures, for today will top out in the 50s for most. We will see some lower 60s as you head to New York City.
I'm meteorologist Jonathan Myers, and here's a look at the Mid-Atlantic region. Up and down the 95 corridor, looks like a cool start, and then as we head into the afternoon, kind of a cool finish. 50s to right around 60 degrees for a lot of areas as we head to high temperatures. We could have some clouds and maybe even a pop-up shower in the afternoon, especially in the higher elevations north and west of the main metro corridor. But overall, it's a cool day as our latest weather maker pulls off the coast. That's the scene here.
I'm meteorologist Vetus Reed. Here's a look at your southeast forecast highs for the day. It's going to be a cool one now that we're seeing that northerly flow across the area. 58 degrees jacket weather up in Nashville, 64 in Raleigh, looking at 64 in Macon, 58 in Atlanta compared to 72 in Tampa, 77 West Palm, even South Florida looking at very comfortable temperatures. As we see a cold front stretching south of Miami, we'll continue to see a northerly flow. High pressure is going to be over parts of Louisiana, bringing in also some cooler air across the area as we go through Monday and Tuesday.
Weather Window, presented by the National Weather Desk.
That is the sound of an elk bugling as he wades through water in western North Carolina. Elk make this sound in the fall during rutting season as he advertises his fitness for a female called a cow. He's also showing off to the other bulls. The activity is most common at dusk and dawn.
For more content like this, follow the National Weather Desk on Instagram.
Satellite imagery can show us so much more than just clouds. Check out this animation of Idalia making landfall in Florida back in August. You can see the bubbling of the clouds, but you're also seeing lightning popping around the eye wall. This is one of many animations put together by the Cooperative Institute for Research in the Atmosphere, or CIRA. Emily Gracie recently spoke to the man behind these animations to learn about what these beautiful natural phenomena are finding across the globe.
We have all sorts of new products now that can tell us a lot more about weather, particularly the geostationary lightning mapper. And we also now have a product called fire temperature, which can help meteorologists see where fires are starting and sort of how they're evolving.
What's some of the really cool things you've seen recently?
Hurricane Lee and Franklin. I think Franklin was probably more impressive to look at. The eye in particular just got a little bit clearer for longer. So something that is always cool and never hurts anybody are von Karman vortices. Those are probably like my favorite thing to look at in satellite imagery. They basically form when air goes around an island and it comes back on the other side of it. And then these vortices feed off of each other. And it creates sort of like this feedback loop on them.
Satellite imagery is used in so many other ways beyond just weather. So can you give me some examples of stuff you've seen that is not weather related?
So recently we had the Kilauea volcano eruption, and our fire temperature imagery can see the lava essentially, and it illuminates these hot spots. So, not technically weather, we're still earth sciences, but that's really cool when you see a volcanic eruption and you can see like the hot spot that the lava produces. Okay, the weirdest thing to me on satellite imagery that you can see like fairly regularly over open waters are called actinoform clouds. And they form in these clusters of stratocumulus, marine stratocumulus. They form in groups too. There's not a lot of research that goes into these because they're low impact. They sort of form their own tiny low pressure circulation. And they end up looking like these tentacles that are swirling around this eye.
According to a new study, humans are impacting seismic events on the moon. Apparently, a spacecraft that was left by the United States on the moon's surface in 1972 could be causing moonquakes. The Apollo 17 lunar lander module is sitting a few hundred yards away from instruments recording the small tremors. The analysis offers new insights into how the moon responds to its surroundings and what can affect its seismic activities. The rumbles are not dangerous and likely would be undetectable to humans standing on the moon's surface. And while some love getting outdoors during the fall season, for others it can be a problem. Mold and ragweed are in the air, and this can be an issue for those with seasonal allergies. Melanie Torrey speaks with experts about how the best ways you can find to find relief.
I've lived in Texas my whole life, and I've always suffered from really bad congestion.
Kristen Barrientos' allergies have been taking a toll. So much so, she has an upcoming appointment to start allergy shots.
Hopefully, I'm praying it works.
She's taking steps to treat the problem instead of the symptoms. At Aspire Allergy and Sinus,
this is exactly what we want our patients to do.
Allergy specialist Haley Overstreet preaches prevention.
We want them to get ahead of the problem instead of treating with medications.
Last week, an FDA panel concluded phenylephrine, a key ingredient in some common over-the-counter drugs like Sudafed PE and Benadryl Allergy Plus Congestion, is not effective. Researchers found when taken orally, a very small amount of the drug actually reaches the nose, not enough to relieve congestion.
For a lot of this, that's okay because it also increases blood pressure and heart rate, and there's other reasons we don't want our patients to take that all the time anyway.
Overstreet says if you need relief now, nasal rinses and sprays are your best bet.
If they're doing nasal rinses on a daily basis in the evenings during their worst season, that can help not only treat but also prevent symptoms. And then also leaning into the nasal steroid spray, so like the Flonase, Nasacort, Rhinocort, because those are going to help kind of decrease the inflammation, and you can use them as needed, and they're not going to have the rebound effect like the decongestant nasal spray like Afrin.
In western North Carolina, debris burning is the #1 cause of wildfires. Right now, much of the region is abnormally dry, and some counties are experiencing moderate drought. Jennifer Emert looks at how crops are impacted and steps you can take to prevent wildfires during the fall season.
Our last crop didn't make it because they didn't have enough rain.
While Tomas farms lost their corn crop, irrigation on some of their other McDowell County fields led to a robust haul to western North Carolina's farmers market. Peppers and tomatoes fared better in the drier weather. But with temperatures expected to have many turning to a heat source, these drier conditions have prompted warnings from the North Carolina Forest Service.
A lot of times people are dumping their stove ashes and they'll rekindle and start fires as well.
There are also concerns around the beginning of fall cleanup. As property owners begin to clear leaves and burn debris, it's the #1 cause of wildfires in the mountains, with most outdoor fires human-caused. The North Carolina Forest Services encourages those doing cleanup in the current dry conditions to have tools on hand to keep burn piles from getting out of control.
Most wildfires in general are started by lightning. How do you know when you are most at risk from being struck by lightning? Theron Zahn has the answer.
Lightning is one of the most awe-inspiring forces of nature and also one of the most dangerous. Some of the people most vulnerable when a lightning storm moves through are people playing sports. According to the National Weather Service, the sports with the most lightning fatalities are soccer with 40%, golf with 27% of sports deaths due to lightning, then comes running at 17%, and baseball at 10%. No matter what sport you're playing, when you hear thunder or see lightning, leave the field immediately.
You don't need to be a meteorologist to get involved with weather. Christina Ernie posted on TikTok about how to get involved in reporting the weather.
Do you know somebody who loves weather? Maybe it's you, maybe it's a kid that you know, maybe it's a family member. Well, there are a few ways to actually get involved in weather that doesn't actually require being a meteorologist, and the information that you could actually provide us through these programs are vital. Here are 3 top ways to get involved with weather. The easiest way, buy a weather station. You can monitor conditions yourself from home. Number 2, join the National Weather Service Skywarn program. It requires 2-hour training with a National Weather Service meteorologist. They help you to identify and describe severe local storms, thunderstorms, tornadoes, floods, all of that, so you can report it during the time of those events. It's on all 50 states. Number 3, join the Coco Roz community. You report how much snow or rain you get, and you don't even have to be 18.
And as we go to break, we take flight above the Pacific Ocean near San Francisco.
Well, good Monday morning. I'm Phil Kelly. We do have some nice temperatures on the way. Sunshine through the heart of the country. Temperatures reaching into the mid-60s. Mid-50s here in the Great Lakes, Ohio Valley, still dealing with a few light showers. That system is exiting rather quickly. Look at this nice warm-up then we get for tomorrow. Everybody gets in on the sunshine. Temperatures either in the 60s to mid-70s back into the Central Plains. Enjoy.
Good Monday morning to you. Meteorologist Chris Suchan. Look at our forecast today across the region. A beautiful fall day with a crisp start to the day. A lot of sunshine ahead. High temperatures running a little cooler to normal, 60s and 70s with 80 around El Paso. And then we head to Tuesday. Chilly in the morning with 40s to 50s. The afternoon, lots of sunshine in the forecast. Comfortable temperatures looking ahead. Rainfall in the forecast next 6 to 10 days and above normal on those temperatures.
Good morning. I'm meteorologist Rebecca Stevenson. Here's what's happening across the West. We have warm, dry weather for much of the Southwest, across the Four Corners and into California. Lots of sunshine. But the Pacific Northwest, a little above normal. But now we've got a series of weather systems moving through, bringing in some heavy rain at times and some strong gusty winds. We'll be watching out for that rain to be totaling up and filling up the rivers. That's the scene from here.
You are watching the National Weather Desk.
You don't need to be a farmer to grow great pumpkins, and you also don't need to be a meteorologist to get involved with weather. Christina Ernie posted on TikTok about how to get involved in reporting the weather.
Do you know somebody who loves weather? Maybe it's you, maybe it's a kid that you know, maybe it's a family member. Well, there are a few ways to actually get involved in weather that doesn't actually require being a meteorologist, and the information that you could actually provide us through these programs are vital. Here are 3 top ways to get involved with weather. The easiest way, buy a weather station. You can monitor conditions yourself from home. Number 2, join the National Weather Service Skywarn program. It requires 2-hour training with a National Weather Service meteorologist. They help you to identify and describe severe local storms, thunderstorms, tornadoes, floods, all of that, so you can report it during the time of those events. It's on all 50 states. Number 3, join the Coco Roz community. You report how much snow or rain you get, and you don't even have to be 18.
We'd love to share your weather content on the air. You can find us on all your favorite social media platforms. Just search for the National Weather Desk. We'll be right back. Thank you for joining us. I'm meteorologist Matt Ritter. Make it a great day, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.